All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Daybreak on Trust Television. We're at that segment now where we would open our phone lines to get contributions from Nigeria, from the length and breadth of this country, and what they think about the outcomes of all that went down at the Senate chambers yesterday at the National Assembly. So much happened, culminating in the eventual suspension of Senator Abdul Ningi over his claims that 3.7 trillion provisions in the 2024 budgets are not tied to any project, nor do they have locations. In other words, it will be difficult to do any monitoring and evaluations. He stood his grounds, even though it was difficult for him to substantiate some of those claims. One would have thought that if there were some thorough what would I call it? Some hard evidences around those claims. We would have seen them yesterday on the floor.
This is where you expect, the principle of the Evidence Act to play in. He who alleges
must prove.
Must prove. And unfortunately, he made the allegation and then he stopped there.
Basically stood by his allegation. And
even though he said, he paid a consultant to do the work, the Senate President was trying to clear clarity and said, they had an interaction and he was expecting to see some of those details. That is not to say that Nigerians don't have their reservations about the budget, because we also heard from one of the senators who allegedly said some of the senators got 500 million naira.
And then somewhere in the sittings, when he was asked to substantiate, he went about it a different way. But we know from our interactions with the budgets clearly that there are budget provisions that at best appear to be, feeding into this kind of suspicions where with all that is happening, you have an agency, providing about R1 billion for medical consultations abroad, and you wonder how that fits into the overall objective of that kind of institution, and whether or not they can find medical facilities in Nigeria to expend those kind of money on.
There's so many things wrong with our budgetary.
You find an agency, a very small agency, providing nearly 5 billion naira to procure computers that were procured in the previous budget and in the budget before the previous one, and it's just basically a function of filling out those templates. So there are indeed so much questions to be asked about the budget, but one would have thought that Senator Abdul Ningi would have gone one step further to have made those reports available, and perhaps that would have elicited a more quality response.
For so many Nigerians, especially if you go online, and that's why we love to hear some organic voices regarding this. We already have someone on the line, so let's speak to our first caller on the program. Hello there, good morning and welcome to Daybreak Interactive. What's your name and where are you calling from?
In the studio.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
Well done, sir. How is the family, sir?
They're all fine. Thank you for asking. Go ahead, please. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
My name is Pastor Isaac. I'm calling from Darazo Local Government, Bauchi State, Nigeria.
Go ahead, Pastor.
Very constituency where Abdul Ningi come from.
Right. Go ahead, please.
I would like to say something concerning that. You see, what he's saying is not the first person to say. I think last year, somebody ever said that what the Mr. President brought in the box is empty box for them in the National Assembly there for the budget, nothing inside. But I think what is happening in the case of Abdul Ningi, so they should just forgive him and him to just beg them that, that he's do right, and they should just waive the 3 months what they expel him, so that we in this senatorial district will enjoy what we need and to speak for us. They should just beg them to just beg them and beg those that they think that they are offended. Thank you. God bless Trust TV. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Pastor. Really appreciate you for calling in. And I think it's instrumental that we're hearing from constituents that will be directly impacted, because this suspension means that he's not going to take part in any way, shape or form in parliamentary activities regarding the 10th Senate. Yeah. And that is to the disadvantage of his constituents. And I think they're going to bear the brunt for this suspension. That all the more important why politicians should understand the ramifications of their actions or inactions and the impact it will have on the people that they're representing. So hopefully we're going to get a lot more contributions regarding this. And as I was saying earlier, this particular issue has polarized Nigerians on social media. There's some who are on the Ningi camp, and there's some who are on the side of the Tinubu camp, making it look like it's a PDP versus APC thing. But we have someone else on the line. Hello, good morning.
My name is Tony Eze, calling from Benue.
Good morning, Mr. Eze. Tony. How is Enugu this morning?
No, Benue.
All right.
Right. Go ahead, Mr. Tony.
Okay. What happened to the National Assembly is quite unfortunate. It's unfortunate in the sense that before anybody utters such accusation, you're supposed to gather facts before saying it. To the extent of going to BBC and granting interview there and saying something that you cannot defend is quite unfortunate. But not withstanding. Nigeria Senate need to come out with transparent in everything that they are doing. There have been rumors here and there, padding and all these things. And year-to-year budget, we are not seeing anything meaningful coming out of it. And the work of legislator is to see that anything that comes from executive, they perfect it in the way that it will benefit Nigerians. But in Nigeria, we are not seeing anything that they are doing that we are benefiting much from the hand of Senate. They need to come out with transparency.
All right, Mr. Tony, let me play the devil's advocate. Are you, despite the inability of Senator Ningi to prove beyond reasonable doubt, are you comfortable with the budget documents as it is? I mean, the budget that was signed into law by the president?
I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable in the sense that some money they map to this. If anybody wants to do something that will be meaningful in Nigeria, agriculture must be one. Health must gather. Education must gather. And when you fail to put more in these three sectors, I don't think the budget will go well with people. Look at computers and all these things that they are spending money. In one computer, one can use it for 4 years. One can use it for 3 years. But every year in, year out, they put more money in computer that is not expired.
Yeah. I appreciate your candid opinion on this one, Mr. Tony. Thank you so much for joining the conversation and for adding value to it with your perspective. I must say, Nigerians have every right to say that the transparency or the lack of is very telling, because to the point that the constituent from Darazo was making about the symbolic presentation of the budget. We understood that some of the senators alleged that, listen, there was actually no document in that box. I mean, it's symbolic, but also it just signposted how there's this laissez-faire attitude approach towards serious issues, right? If the budget was not ready at that time, take your time, perfect it before, presenting it to the National Assembly. I guess we have someone on the line. Hello, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Madam Ayola, Ibrahim Ahmed.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. The issue is this.
The floor is yours,
the issue
please.
is this.
Yes.
If the members of National Assembly do not stop deceiving themselves and all Nigerians, nothing will change. They are pretending as if nothing is happening there, but they know the truth inside them that it is happening. What Ningi said is the fact. Facts are facts. It's just that they're just trying to destroy him and behave as if nothing is happening. Everybody in that National Assembly knows that what Ningi said is happening. If you put projects now, tell me in Nigeria now, do we need computers or do we need vehicles, or do we need consultants to go about checking what do you call social amenity list. With a serious now, look at the whole issue. The budget had 84 million for agri and health. Yet the National Assembly had 320-something billion. How does that help this country? How? How does that help this country? How? So please, let Nigerians get up and ask questions. This idea of intimidating people and just saying that they're suspending Ningi for 3 months, will it change the National Assembly? Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. I mean, you know, just adding to the whole conversation around the transparency. And Senator Adam Shomole woke up, you know, to speak yesterday, and he talked about, you know, being undressed in the public, what is happening right now, and they have to share in that embarrassment. And the Senate President was talking about the integrity of the National Assembly or the Senate being damaged. But I must say, if they do take the pulse of the nation, they should realize that they have never had the trust of the Nigerian people for so long.
Or and maybe they overrate themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And this only reinforces that mistrust that Nigerians have, because once that allegation comes out, it'll be very difficult. This damage control is not helping.
It's not.
And yesterday we just got of another perspective of how divided the House really is, and how, you know, there's this sense that Nigerians have, for the right reasons, mistrusted the ability to represent them properly.
And, you know, basically, like I said, it goes beyond just the Senator Ningi's thing. It's in how the leadership of the National Assembly was arrived at.
Yeah.
It's in how some scrupulous requests by the executives have escaped the House without proper scrutiny. It's in the time that it took them to scrutinize this budget, well under 2 months, under a month if you like, and jacked it up, you know, considerably, you know, without any pushback by the executives. The executive enjoyed the fact that they increased the provisions and they signed them off. It's in all of those things that Nigerians have questioned. Borrowings that have gone past this National Assembly without proper scrutiny and questions, only for them to return and start pretending as if they have no understanding of what...
This of rubber stamp has been there for the past 8 years now, 6 to something years now. And unfortunately, they're not proving Nigerians wrong to show that, listen, they are autonomous and they can make independent decisions on their own. Plus, you ask yourself, you know, let's go back to the phone line. Someone is on the line. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the program. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
I am Muhammad. I'm calling from Kebbi State.
Muhammad from Kebbi State. Please go ahead.
Yes.
The floor is yours, Muhammad.
Yes. You are talking about the Senate suspension of Senator Ningi. I think the first thing they should supposed to do is they're supposed to investigate what he is claiming, not just suspending him. Suspending him it's not what they should do at the right time. They should set up an investigative panel so that to investigate his claim, whether he's right or wrong. This is what we Nigerians wanted them to do, not just suspending him. So he have a right to
raise objections.
What he said. Yes, this is his right. They need to investigate. After investigation, then they can suspend him if they found that what he said has not any base. So I think this is what they should supposed to do, not just suspending him.
As a Nigerian, Mohammed, just before you go,
yes,
do you think this buries the whole drama? Do you think this is the end of the discussion because he has been suspended, apparently because the Senate believes that he has misinformed Nigerians? Do you think this should be the end of the story?
Yes, I think it's going to be the end of the story. I don't know, they're not going to hear anything again. This is what I think.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for joining the conversation. Really appreciate your thoughts on this one.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, we've been here before, haven't we?
We have.
Where suspension is used as a tool to rein in and control
and silent dissent
within the ranks.
Voices,
and unfortunately, this is not This is not how the parliament is supposed to function.
No. I mean, if a parliament is there, you know, to foster alternative perspective, it should be shown even in the way it carries out its own function. It is not enough for you to rain down on somebody who you perceive has brought discontents to disrepute to your name. I mean, we should explore, you know, those claims to the letter, and that's what the last caller is saying. We have another caller on the line. Your name and where you're calling from. Good morning.
Please turn down the volume of your TV set so we can have a conversation.
I wanted to comment this daybreak.
All right. Can we please have your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Aminu. I'm calling from Zaria.
Thank you very much, Aminu from Zaria. Your thoughts, please. Go ahead, Aminu.
Thank you very much, Aminu. This is that is happening in our national Senate.
I mean, just before we go ahead, please turn down the volume of your TV set. I mean, just turn down the volume of your TV set so we can have a direct conversation, please.
Thank you. I did that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. What I'm saying, this is the highest embarrassment as far as Nigerians are concerned. How can they suspend the two senator like Ningi without investigating what is on the ground? You just suspend him, and then when you look at the faces of some of the senators during the discussion, they just, some of them look like they are pretending. Because as a senior senator and as a higher-ranking senator cannot just make an allegation without having some fact with him. I think the best thing for them to do is for them to investigate first. And after the investigation, then they can go ahead and then whether suspend him or allow him to remain in the Senate. This is my take. But this is very sad country. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I think we share in that embarrassment as a nation that this is happening. But also, I must say that the buck, as far as this one is concerned, we have to put a lot of that on Senator Ningi. Because if he had dropped the evidence, the receipts, the findings of this consultant, we wouldn't be here, because Nigerians at this point in time have nothing to go on but these allegations.
You know, but one of the things that came to the fore in the course of that conversation, which was what the last speaker tried to allude to, was the fact that this was not just coming up. There had been some consultations on the ground. Right. He had tried to speak to a number of persons, and the Deputy Senate President also confirmed that on the floor. The extent of the conversation is what we are not privy to, but all we saw was that there had been an attempt to stop him from taking this to the press. Right. Apparently, he did that to ensure that the issues do not die at the level of consultations. Whether or not he would have done more, it's one conversation that we cannot exhaust, but clearly, these concerns were shared. A number of them knew about it, but they felt the way he went about it was probably not exhaustive. We have another caller. Your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Uchenna, and I'm calling you from Port Harcourt.
Uchenna, good morning from Port Harcourt. Let us hear your thoughts.
Good morning. Thank you. Okay. I think the senator were so much in a hurry to suspend Senator Ningi. Yes, he has made claims. They would have allowed him. They would have allowed him to give him more time to see that he comes up with an evidence. They were so much in a hurry, and it has always been like that. To me, suspending him is to shut him up. Honestly. Because in Nigeria, anything goes, especially in the Senate. They do things the way they want. But my take is they would have given him more time to back up his claims. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Uchenna. And I quite, lean towards that explanation, because if the interest was to really get to the heart of, I know they could be, they would feel some type of way. Their emotions would be involved and say, okay, he's perhaps indicting all of us to have been in bed with the Tinubu administration to pad the budget or something like that. But beyond your emotional interpretation, it's okay. we owe it to Nigerians to, do the work and to show them that this is either true or not. But suspending him stops that from happening because we're foreclosing the whole idea of, this budget padding thing. And, there's nothing else to say.
I'm sorry to say that from looking at all that transpired, the body language of the Senate yesterday did not suggest to me that they were interested in having
getting to the truth.
Yeah, you have your Ethics and Privilege Committee. And quite a number of voices had recommended that this should be passed to the committee so that it allows for an expansive.
But isn't that what you have with other climes also? I think Judge Santos that was expelled from the U.S. Congress. Yes. They had a process. In fact, the Senate had to even vote.
A thorough process.
Exactly.
Yes.
So exhaust those processes and procedures.
Especially because of the consequence of denying representation to a set of people.
It's not just about Ningi. I think Ningi is going to be fine.
That's right.
But what about the constituency, the district he represents? That lack of.
And if we had had that expansive probe, it would have also allowed the House or the Senate or the National Assembly, as the case may be, to have called for some kind of external audit.
Yeah.
Who said that is not possible? There are some of the big 5 audit firms in the world are residents in this country. Yeah. Why can't we have a probe along the lines of those because we see things in the budget that are tagged under miscellaneous. Yeah. Miscellaneous and just nothing. You just vote funds
and there are
into
those
a
funds
basket.
Also that don't have a breakdown.
No, they don't.
And that
they
has
are one-line budget provisions.
Yeah, that has become the tradition of our budgetary process.
And whatever they do with it, it's what they do with it. You can't. Monitoring is difficult. Evaluation is difficult. And every time we don't understand things, they move them into those single budgetary timelines. So, I mean, people would like to know. I understand we have another caller. Your name and where you're calling from.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. You will have to raise your voice and tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Okay. My name is Francis Gwaja, calling from Gombe.
Francis from Gombe, right?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Francis.
About the issue of suspending Senator Ningi, to me, they are not fair to that senator. They're supposed to give him time to prove beyond the definite doubt before if they see anything fishy to suspend him. By now, suspending him, they want to pin him down, close his mouth, and let the matter die. If you watch the hearings yesterday, there's a one senator, Senator DAYBREAK. He raised another issue that financial money, call it 500 million. These are the issues. Senate, they are not helping the matter. They are only after their body. The masses, they are suffering. Then they are only enjoying the fruit of the masses. They are only there. But when the one voted them inside, supposed to consider the masses first before their interest. If they don't do like this, Nigeria will not go anywhere. We are borrowing, and the few people they are enjoying the money. We are not seeing anything that they are borrowing money. So it's better for us to rise now and tell the Senate to do the needful thing. 2077 is at the corner. Most of them, they will see the differences to the current unit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francis, for that apt contribution. And listen, I would say this: if the Senate was trying to revive its image or its integrity or boost public confidence, this suspension does the opposite of it.
Absolutely.
Because you can hear from Nigerians who say, listen, this leaves much to be desired. The question has not still been answered.
And the doubt in the minds of Nigerians rests largely with the kind of messaging that we are also getting from the Senate. In one, not too long ago, a senator came out and said the president had voted XYZ amount for direct interventions. And some other senators said they didn't get a dime. Now another senator is alleging the provision of 500 million.
And he said he didn't get it.
And they said they didn't get it. The same Senate president returned from a function and said he is aware that the president had voted 30 billion to each state. And the states are saying they didn't get it.
Thank you for raising that point. Just 2 weeks ago, we're happening on this, where Governor Makinde had to come out and say, listen, and the Senate president said in making that statement said, unverified report has it that the governors got 30 billion
each.
So if the Senate President could, share unverified reports, what stops Ningi from sharing unverified
suspicions?
Exactly. So it's just a double standard, and you get that sense of quid pro quo, especially when Senator DAYBREAK said, some ranking senators got 500 million from this budget. And, it just takes me back to what Dino Elai famously said in the Senate. You say the truth, you will die. You don't say the truth, you still die. So it's better to just say the truth. And, but in all honesty, this does not shed further light on the irregularities within the system. I mean, we don't have evidence that it is happening right now, but we know from history that this has become a part of the system for so long. If we're going to be honest
at any rate, it is not the first time that we are getting accusations of this magnitude.
Yeah.
You recall that former Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo had said, and it's on record, that the Senate returned the federal budget, then under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, including items. Oh my God, there's so much that has happened. This last 8 months feels like forever.
Right.
And that can make you feel that we have been in this trade for over 4 years. But he said, and it was contestable whether within the constitutional consideration and provisions of allowing you carry out your constitution, whether you are allowed to introduce extraneous variables or even entirely new budget without provisions for implementation into the budget. These accusations have been there, but somehow for the need to move forward, those issues were not exhausted and they were let to go. In fact, they had sought constitutional interpretations on the roles of each of these arm of government on what they can do on the budget. But
hello, good morning, Trust TV.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
My name is Yusuf. I'm calling you from Central area.
Okay,
good morning, Yusuf.
Here in Abuja. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Go ahead, please. Where do you stand on this?
Yes, I just saw the topic you are discussing. I'm just surprised. Is Ningi supposed to be suspended for saying there is budget padding, or they are supposed to investigate, then look at the merit of what he's saying? Because I think this is not the first time we've been hearing about budget padding. I can't remember hearing anybody being suspended for that. But
the last time it was discussed, nobody was suspended.
Yes, the last time nobody was suspended. What happened was, you bring your proof of the budget padding, and the Senate will look at it, the presidency will look at it, and they rectify whatever was padded. So now they just silence us totally by suspending him. So does it mean that Nigerians don't deserve the right to know what happened, whether there was actually budget padding or not, and if there was, who padded it, and if the person is identified, we will not treat the person's excesses going forward so that nobody does that again? Are we just supposed to continue by keeping quiet and suspending whoever brings out a criminal activity or tendencies by any individual? Please, the Senate just need to speak to Nigerians so that we'll understand their reason for suspending somebody for saying there is budget padding. I'm just really lost. I'm lost.
Yeah.
I want to hear more of it, please.
Couldn't agree with you more on that.
I think we need to hear more.
I think we are all lost. Thank you very much. Thank you for your contributions.
So appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is just speaking about the whistleblower policy when the Buhari administration introduced it. This is tantamount to just punishing the whistleblower.
That's right.
Because Ningi should be treated as a whistleblower at this moment in time. And
I think their grouse was the fact that he said it in the BBC rather than in the floor of the House.
And the first person's account that makes it to the public gets some sort of public support because there's this believability when he said it. It was almost as if Nigerians were waiting for somebody to say it, and they're now unhappy that Nigerians believe him even without seeing evidence.
It is not, Abdul, it's not resting on nothing. We have tried to show here that he wasn't the first, probably won't be the last. And the people who had made these allegations in the past are also very high-ranking members of government. I mentioned Professor Osinbajo. You remember that President Buhari on occasions refused accent on the budget because of what was considered a padding. We have another caller. your name and where you're calling from. Can we please have you turn down the volume of your TV set? Let us have your name and where you're calling from.
Hello?
Good morning. Can you please turn down the volume of your TV set? Your name and where you're calling from.
Yes, okay. I've done that. Good morning.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jibril. I'm calling from Kaduna.
Thank you very much, Jibril from Kaduna.
Yes. You see, I'm very much surprised about this budget handling. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
I'm surprised why we're talking too much about this budget padding and suspending Ningi. Suspending Ningi will not solve the problem. Now, in the same issue, a sitting senator is complaining that 500 million naira was distributed to other ranking senators, while he has not been given a single penny out of this money. So we should not be even surprised about the present Senate, because look at how the Senate leadership came to power. You see, you see, that is why we said the Senate, the bunch of senators we are having, they don't have any integrity. Now, look, somebody like Jemo Ibrahim was complaining of integrity. Who is Jemo Ibrahim? We all know we know his issues. We know who Jemo Ibrahim is.
I beg to say that we may have to watch the personal accusations here, because he doesn't have a right of response right now. So let's stay with the issues. Yeah.
No, most of those people in the Senate, we know what.
Okay, I believe we're having some challenges listening to Jibrin. Here's a recommendation. We have a couple of minutes to spare for this segment, so just try calling back again, because there seems to be an interference with our connection to you, and we're unable to have a smooth conversation. But just a quick reminder that we want to have a civil conversation without name calling, without, of course, trying to malign anyone's image. But let's just speak to the issues that we have, for today on the program. And I believe there's a lot more that we can say about the issues without necessarily name calling or try to malign any individual's name as far as this conversation is concerned. Listen, the quid pro quo thing, he was talking about the constituency projects that have become a normal thing now with the National Assembly. But, however, when that senator said 500 million to ranking senators, did you get a feeling that it was just an allocation to their district? Because I believe I think Senator Bjorn was also trying to clarify that, this is going towards, providing solar-powered lights or boreholes and things like that. But then again, we ask ourselves, is that what lawmakers are supposed to do?
If there
are they going to get these funds directly to them?
Such provisions, why should a senator be in the dark? That's a real question. Why should some persons be aware of it and others are not? Yeah. Why should some members of the Senate...
And why is there no parity?
Because they're all... Even if you're a ranking member, there is nothing that suggests that your representation is more important than mine.
Or your district is better
than mine. Yeah. So on what basis would you have anything provided for you and somebody else would not even be aware that there are such ledgers, going around? So it's a big question. There is this big doubt, about what exactly is the budget document in Nigeria, to the extent that months, after these budgets have been approved, Nigerians are even struggling to get what is the correct documents, the correct budget documents that they will tell you they are in some website, but I can tell you that these informations are not where they claim they are. I mean, you will not find that volume, those exact volumes in any public sphere in Nigeria. They are the only ones who have the exact information of what they approved and probably can accept or deny whatever it's the correct documents are.
I think someone is on the line. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Sorry, it is still Pastor Isaac that still come out. Calling from Darazo local government, Bauchi State, Nigeria.
Okay, you have more to add?
Sorry, what I just want to say, on what the people that call, they all spoke well concerning the Senate to shift the things to committee, not to stop Senator Ningi. And you see the issue of constituency, 500 million, blah, blah, and you see, we have been hearing things in Nigeria. Actually, what we need in Nigeria now is not what our leaders are just doing. Let them just focus in how to solve the problems of Nigeria. This particular issue of Senator Abdul Ahmed Ningi, they're supposed to forgive him, he's supposed to forgive them, and let them do what is right for us in Nigeria. We need improvement of good things in Nigeria, not challenging each other. And I urge all the citizens of Nigeria, let us live as brothers and sisters. No, either you are Muslim, you are Christian, no. Let us love one another. If we live in peace in Nigeria, Nigeria will go forward and will go good. And you have right to exercise your religion.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, forgive is your brother, is your colleague. Forgive him. You too, Senator Ahmed Ningi, forgive them.
Thank you very much.
Bygone.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor from Darazo, the man from the direct constituency of Senator Ningi. I like your admonition around forgiveness. It speaks largely around your own calling as a reverend, but you would also agree that we talk so much about peace, but peace only happens in an atmosphere of social justice.
There are fundamentals for peace.
That's right.
There are structural
issues
around that we need to address.
But also, and I think it is in our own benefit that we have a National Assembly where people are uncomfortable with the way things are right now, and they find the balls, to speak truth to power.
The speed with which they treat this, do you think that is the same speed they would normally treat any other national issue, like the insecurity, for instance?
We have not seen that.
Like what is happening with our universities? Like the fact that our universities right now are being shut down by senior staff
association
and non-academic staff.
What about the interventions the president spoke to? If in over 3 months
the grains distribution,
the grains are nowhere to be found.
They're uncomfortable with the fact that Nigerians are unable to.
What about issues around the exchange rates and all? What policy options are they able to provide?
There's also the party line that was, that came to light, because it wasn't just Senator Abdul Ningi that was, perhaps that ruffled feathers. Senator Karl Samaila also was in there. Right. However, he got off with a warning, because some people say he's on the platform of the APC. That's right. Why he got off with. But Ningi is on the platform of the PDP. So it's all a muddled conversation at this point.
We have another caller. Hello. Your name and where you're calling from.
Yes, thank you. You're talking with Simon from Adamawa State, Yola.
Please come again.
Hello?
Yes, your name and where you're calling from, please.
I'm talking from Adamawa State.
Yeah, Adamawa State, but we didn't get your name.
Okay, I'm Simpson Sunday.
Okay, from Adamawa State. Go ahead. Just turn down the volume of your TV set, Mr. Sunday.
I'm Sunday.
Yes, just turn down the volume of your TV set and go ahead.
All right, they have to forgive when they are doing.
Go ahead. Your trunk is clear now.
I think we've lost our connection to Mr. Sunday, but rules of engagement. If you're close by to your TV set, the conversation is not going to go on as smooth.
You can't be listening to us and watching the TV set. You basically can be hearing yourself talk at the same time.
Let's just have that conversation and, of course, make sense of your contribution, because that is what we would love to hear. And I think some people are pointing that out, even though it looks like a minute issue, but also is the treatment, because they said, according to the conversations on their WhatsApp group, that Senator Kawu Samale shared something very inciting.
That's right.
However, he got a slap on the wrist with a warning, so he still gets to stay in the Senate and attend plenary. However, Abdul Ningi, who I think the conversation revolves around, got an even bigger sanction with a suspension for 3 months. Initially, Senator Jimo was advocating for 1 year suspension. Yeah. I mean, it's tantamount to just telling that district that you know what, you're not going to have representation because we think that the man representing you.
I think, and I wish lawyers would call in and help us understand what this means in entirety. Especially as it borders on the rules of the House. Did you think they were exhaustive? Do you think that a part of this country can be denied representation on account of things that we could have resolved using other? What do you think the implications will be for people who have suspicions, around how things are done and all of that? Do you think this is an attempt to whistle down dissenting voices in the National Assembly?
Yesterday shared something. He said suspension in the Senate means a senator will not be allowed to attend the plenary and will be prohibited from attending committee meetings and participating in oversight functions. His salary, allowances and all entitlements will be blocked. He will not have access to his office and is expected not to be seen within the premises of the National Assembly until his suspension is lifted. When he said, I publicly disclosed the salaries and running costs of lawmakers, it was the then Senate President who saved me from suspension. If you talk too much, he said, your body will tell you. So I guess there's this
unwritten rules.
Yeah, unwritten rule that you're not supposed to go against
the institution.
The institution in a way. But doesn't that run afoul of what the parliament is all about? You see the parliaments in South Africa. I mean, most of the time it's really dramatic. You see the parliaments in the UK, for instance, where we borrowed this whole idea. In the United States, dissent is an integral part of democracy. You cannot always speak in unison.
See people come into the parliament, as we saw with Representative Omar in the US, take down a federal policy, shred it to pieces, and disagree with the principles and spirit of that. And you could get a thumbs down by your colleagues in the Senate, but it doesn't stop you from putting out that alternative perspective, or opinion, or whatever it is. We cannot deny people that fundamental right because we are not happy with
this is not to say that we encourage misinformation, but misinformation should not be encouraged.
Absolutely.
However, the ability for people to speak their minds is an integral part of democracy. There's freedom of speech also being responsible around that. But we're just going to bring in a guest who will help add value to the conversation. Dr. Yunusa Tanko is the spokesperson of the Peter Obi campaign organization for the 2023 presidential election, and he's joined us via phone to add value to the conversation. Dr. Tanko, thank you so much for joining the conversation. I appreciate you for making the time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right. I wonder what your position on this whole drama is. So share with us your views on what happened on the floor of the National Assembly in the Senate, to be precise.
Well, I thought we are going to have a National Assembly that will be sympathetic to the cause of the people and help them in midwifing a kind of a very difficult situation in which we find ourselves as a country at the moment. But unfortunately, it seems to be another mirage of what we are supposed to have as a National Assembly that defends the interests of the people. With due apologies to the leadership. Now, we have a senator who have been an old hand in the system. I'm speaking about Senator Abdullahi Ningi. He is not a new person. He knows thoroughly the workings of the National Assembly. And he has come out to say, in a debating situation in the plenary, that there is 3.7 billion naira being unaccounted for, in a way, saying that, look, it is not apportioned, it is swinging amount that cannot be identified. And he has this particular belief that his own colleagues from the northern extractions agree with him on this particular matter, only for them to remove the carpet under his feet. And then he still own up to his position and say, look, this particular amount of money had not been allocated accordingly. But at the plenary, they now come out to say that particular amount of money actually is allocated to the General Enterprising, GEO, they call it.
Government-owned enterprises.
Yes, government-owned enterprises. Now, even if I have not gone to school, and I know well that government-owned enterprises are a subsidiary of various ministries, i.e., like Nigerian Port Authorities and the rest of them, who will come under Ministry of Transport. Each of these government-owned enterprises are asked by the ministry to supply them with their budgetary requests yearly. And so if they say X, Y, Z will belong to this, that, and that, it will come under their own enterprise and it will be part of the Ministry of Transport budget. This is how it is done. But now you cannot allocate such amounts that you said belong to the ministry. It has to be associated with a particular ministry. So therefore, in that process, money wouldn't have been missing. But Ningi is very, very conversant with the budgetary proposal. And so when he said that the money was not fully allocated, he knew what he was saying. Only later on, for another senator from Cross River to make public that 500 million naira has been given to senior senators in the assembly, that he was not given. So the idea was that if he was given that amount of money, probably he wouldn't have come out and said Ningi was right. So in all of this saga, many Nigerians are hearing how our so-called defender, legitimately or with legally, are busy sharing and allocating money that's supposed to belong to every one of us to themselves. Rather than protecting the interests of the people on the ground who are suffering, tell me in all due honesty, how do we intend to take care of banditry, kidnapping, armed robbery, arson, any negative word that is associated with not protecting of the Nigerian people?
All right, how? Dr. Tanko, in a nutshell, do you think the handling, of this allegation by Senator Ningi, what do you make of the entire handling of the process? Has this improved the perception of the Senate? Have they further compounded the image? Have they further battered their own image in the perception of the right-thinking members of the Nigerian society?
Oh yes, unfortunately so. It has furthermore helped to batter the image of the National Assembly. The suspension on Ningi was just a cover-up, and for him not to play the word esprit de corps at the expense of the people and against the National Assembly. So, as far as we are concerned, we need more of this revelation, because it is the action of the people in governance that helps to give trust to the people in the villages and in the cities. With this particular action, it goes ahead to say that we cannot trust those we elected to protect.
But Dr. Tanko, Dr. Tanko, there is also this argument that the fact that Ningi had to bear the brunt for not only making the allegation, but also making it rather public and also standing by his submissions. Where is the opposition? Where is the rest of the PDP? Where is the Labour Party senators? Why do they appear to be silent on this, if at all what he's saying has some truth in it. Doesn't their silence, say that perhaps they do not share the same views that he holds?
Yes, we will employ them to actually come out and give us the true position of what happened to that particular 3.7 billion naira as affected.
Trillion.
By Senator, yes, billion naira affected by Senator Ningi. This will also help in giving credibility to their elected position, because our people are watching and they are listening. When it is time for them to be re-elected, our people may take a different stand because they are not being able to be protected, because they are the ones suffering on the street, and they needed a voice of the people that will represent their interests. And I'm sure our legislators will not keep quiet since they know the background in which they come from. So we'll use this opportunity to call on them to do the right thing for the benefit of the party and the people on the street.
All right, Dr. Tanko.
People on the street need our help.
Yeah, Dr. Tanko, we are running out of time, but one last question before we let you go. Without prejudice to the position that the Senate has taken, what do you think we need to do? I'm talking about the Senate now, to nip this distrust in the board. Beyond suspending Senator Ningi, what should we see from the Senate to properly put this to rest?
They should publicly put all of these budgetary allocations for public scrutiny. We have very intelligent Nigerians, and they can easily read within the lines. These budgetary allocations or proposals can easily be identified if they are padded amounts in anywhere. So the more they make it more public, the more they get the trust of the people, and everybody will know whether they are right or Senator Ningi is right. It's a simple matter.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eunice Salisu Tanko, Chief Spokesperson of the Obidati Campaign Organization, for stopping by and sharing your thoughts with us this morning.
Thank you. God bless you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you. That's the much we will take on that conversation this morning. We have basically gone around this country with contributions from Port Harcourt to Kano to Gombe to Yola and all of those. And we have tested basically the pulse of Nigerians as far as the treatment of these allegations are concerned. And we now know what everyone thinks with regards to how this issue. I think we didn't
need a poll.
Yeah,
we already very easy to tell where Nigeria stands
and a credible one at that matter. And I'm sure the Senate now understands, if not prior to this time, what Nigerians think about how these allegations should probably be put to bed. We will now take a quick break. When we return, Daybreak continues with newspaper headline reviews. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Daybreak on Trust Television. We will now take a quick look at the stories that made it to the front page of the newspapers this morning. And as usual, we'll begin with the Daily Trust. The major stories here read, amidst budget padding allegation, 500 million largesse tears senators apart. Ningi suspended for 3 months, quits as Northern Senator's chair. Nigerians will never respect Senate in the future. This is coming from Akpabio. And leaders allege plot to impeach Senate President. Leader. You'll find these stories on pages 4 and 10. And we have right there the pictures of the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuri Badu, with Ministers of Defense, Badru, Abubakar, and Bello Matawali, and the service chiefs after a meeting on strengthening the country's security. I dare to say it's a meeting that is coming at the nick of time, considering the numbers of adoptions that we have seen across the country. Mob raises Abuja market as prison officers gunned down fleeing suspects. Bandits kidnaps 30 villagers in Kaduna, returns to Kuriga 5 days after. This is really, really pathetic. And 2024 Hajj pilgrims in limbo as NACON yet to remit funds. In fact, we understand the deadline was February 25th. We are way past that deadline. I mean, if you jack any fee by 2 million from 4.5, I wonder how Nigerians will meet that. And very quickly, Niger residents fault renaming of Abubakar Imam International Airport. Sokoto adopters of Sangaya students demand 20 million ransom. And African Games, Nigeria secures second position with 6 more gold medals. We're doing very well on that front, I guess.
I mean, we always do well at the Africa Games.
So what happens with transiting from that point and taking it to the global stage?
The All Africa Games need to be improved upon, because it needs to be a star competition that has all the attention of the continent. Right now, the only game across the continent that attracts this much interest and attention is the AFCON. And unfortunately, we have a lot more to offer, beyond just
beyond that. All right, that's it on the front page of the Daily Trust this morning.
The Guardian is up next, so let's take a look at the front page of the Guardian newspaper. More from the National Assembly. Budget padding. We are all culpable. 500 million naira awards to ranking senators unsettled, exposes National Assembly rot. More on that on page 6. Nigerians lament rising airfare as experts blame exchange rate. Court strikes out suit seeking Igbo's exit from Nigeria. Who is actually pursuing this particular suit? Exactly. The Igbos out of Nigeria?
That's crazy.
Okay. Revival of night patrol as prelude to reforming the police. Bandits capture another 30 as Inspector General of Police visits Kaduna. If there's ever a slap on the face, this is it. When the chief of police himself is in town to assess the security situation and the bandits say, you know what, that doesn't scare us. We're just going to do what we're going to do, regardless. But in other news, Naira's free fall, lean budget hobble Nigerian missions abroad. World Trade Organization inaugurates $1.2 million facility to boost food safety in Nigeria. More on these stories on the pages of the Guardian newspaper for today.
All right, we'll move on to the Nigerian Tribune and staying with the National Assembly. Alleged 3.7 trillion budget padding. House senators nailed Ningi. Okpeyemi, Musa, Ibrahim, Karimi, others set tone for his 3-month suspension. Jaribe claims so-called senior senators got 500 million each. Those who lost out in race for Senate presidency bent on ousting Akpabio. Court can't stop suspension of Bauchi Senator, Senate spokesman. And Ningi resigns as Northern Senator Forum chairman. Akpabio meets with Tinubu, whatever that means. But we have another interesting picture there on the front page of the president visiting former military president, the only one with such toga in Nigeria, General Muhammadu. The last time I was accused of forgetting General Buhari so far quick. This time I'm referring to General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida in its
don't know how he feels about
residency.
How he feels about the renaming of the airport.
But
I don't know how he feels
strange
about
because it was only renamed in the twilight of the last administration, and before then he had a name. And to think that these things have been renamed by people who didn't even build them. This was built by IBB. I was a young man at the time, a very young boy at the time in Minna when the airport was relocated from its location to Mekunkele, where it's currently resited. And to think that the name I was used to. So 25, 30 years ago is not,
do you know how many remarkable individuals come from Niger State? I don't have any problem with President Tinubu being immortalized, but at this moment in time, I think he's still trying to lay the foundation for that legacy to be immortalized in the future. Usually you immortalize people who have already done it in the past and who deserve this kind of recognition, but he's still a 7th president, and I think that it's a bit premature at this moment.
Very premature, and to be done by.
But it's all politics anyway.
Well, sometimes some things you feel must appear to be deserving. Moving on to other stories there, Osun governor raises alarm over planned attack on schools and farms. I hope this doesn't just stop there, that we do things to stop these acts on the track. 3.325 trillion allocation. Reps worry over ravaging insecurity. probes the utilization of $200 million, or rather $20 million safe school funds and adoption of over 200 students. Economic crisis, Tinubu wants apportion blame. Shatima, aren't we seeing those blames already? A fair share of them have been apportioned to President Buhari and to Governor Emefiele, former Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele. Body of killed driver of kidnapped Ekiti school children recovered painfully. Atiku tackles Tinubu over report linking him to PDP exit. And bandits demand 20 million in exchange for Sokoto Sangaya students. These are the stories that made it the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. All right, we now have joining us in the studio as usual every Wednesday morning, Mr. Ben Shama, former director of news, the Voice of Nigeria. He comes in his full complement. He's got a red cap on this morning, signifies that he's here ex cathedra. You want to take everything he tells you from the stables this morning. And I'm sure there's nobody missing, as he said last week, even though he has accused them before we came on set.
The cycle is complete.
The cycle is complete. None is missing, none is unaccounted. None is unaccounted.
None is missing in action.
None is missing in action.
Yes, as we win, so we are.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let us take a deep dive into the conversations. Rather than the Senate conversation that we have had to drill down on our previous segment, I would rather we begin with the kidnap of 30 villagers in Kaduna yesterday. I mean, Kaduna has been in the news for the wrong reason for over a week. The Chukum guys are asking for twice the size of our national budget. The kidnapping of the school was done in broad daylight at the assembly grounds, and we did not get any response. And we saw another one yesterday. At the time, the Inspector General of Police was in town, and we all know the architectural structure of Kaduna. In fact, in local parlance, it is considered as bariki. If you know what that means, what's your impression of what's going on in Kaduna?
It's terrible, terrible as in terrible, because I come from the state. I'm from southern part of Kaduna state, and those days that killings were always in southern Kaduna, each time we cry out, they said, no, the conflict there is historical. So if it's historical, it should continue. There has to be a way out. If a Modakeke was on historical, it is all over, then today we're seeing this new approach to conflict, in sort of violent conflict, this kidnapping. And the recurrent aspect of it, it's so disturbing to the extent that, you see, Sunday, this is dry season, and vegetation is low, grasses are down, shrubs are down. You can see as far as, with ordinary eyes. Now, when you have this kind of a kidnap, not even in the night, during assembly, when children or pupils were supposed to go to classes, then it happened. Something ought to, with all these funds here and there, with all this school protection initiative, with all this GSM here and there, even when we had them, what happened in terms of even community policing? We are told that some people pass information to the authorities, the security agencies. Why was the response so it wasn't there? It was thereafter. You now see the show of force. We love a situation where there is something happening. From the Air Force base, one helicopter takes off and begins to trail these people while running commentary, describing where they all are moving on to. We're talking of school children, some barely 10 years. If you've taken, it's not easy managing those people. And even if we're talking of surveillance, in most cases, some of this Kaduna State uniform is white, green, white, green. Green cap, white dress, or then the short green. Therefore, up there you can identify something white easily, and you trail and probably react. But when it happens this way, the vegetation is in our favor. detect this, to see this, to react, and bring.
Let's just. I hope you can help us understand how this works from your numerous years in defense reporting. Given the nature of this state and the likelihood of this kind of attacks to happen, one would have thought that we would have standby forces. The way we have fire servicemen all dressed up and waiting for it, not like praying for it to happen, but being ready to be called to action.
There are flashpoints. They have the intelligence reports and everything.
Do you think we have a semblance? Because we have never seen it. Every time these reports happen, they are reported in the media within the space of 12 hours. Do you even think 12 hours is late to begin a chase? How big is this country, for God's sake, that things like this happen and you get these flimsy comments from the authorities and that's it, until another attack happens at the same place in a couple of days down the line? Do you think we have those kind of architectures?
Honestly, I think something is wrong. Maybe there's the political will is not there. It's not enough that attacks have taken place and a governor or government officials begin to rush into that place. We've come to sympathize with you. Who is interested in the sympathy? We want a protection. Go to chapter 2 of the Constitution, where the fundamental objective of government is protect the human being, protect the property, and ensure that life is good. Let people sleep very well. If we therefore have the social contract with the authorities, we voted you in so that we can sleep as you are awake, because that's your duty. But if it fails, it says quite a lot of things. But Sunday and Abdullah, let me tell you, look at images coming from CNN, coming from Al Jazeera. It's no longer that of the fact that these people have been killed. You look at the environment, the footage is being released. You just see some thatched houses. You just see places without roads. You see places without hospitals. You look at the schools. So will you call that, in fact, even a prison is supposed to be more attractive than what they call those schools? Look at those structures, this flat roofing they did during the days of the military. They are the ones being maintained today. When El Rufai was telling us education, the best standard will come from Kaduna, and you go to some places, you don't just see what is obtainable. Look at, you see houses, some little gutters meandering between doors of houses, and mosquitoes are there. We're talking of meningitis, we're talking of Lassa fever within this period. All of this also constitute insecurity. It's just not when you have somebody terrorizing you with some AK-47 or even then guns or knives. But you have situations where the government, when the military is also supposed to act immediately, they don't have access roads. So that belongs to the political class. They ought to put structure on ground. Where are the roads? If they are not even that, can we have feeder roads? We should have. That's why local governments should be given their financial autonomy, so that they can clear some of these roads for any eventuality. A situation where constantly, where we say we condemn, tomorrow we condemn. Okay, it happened in Kuriga. How many were gone? And thereafter, look at Goningora, where some people were kidnapped, and the bandits are looking for 40 trillion naira. Even the budget of Nigeria is not up to that amount.
Let's talk about that for let's talk about that for a moment. Do you think, they're mocking the government, they're mocking the system right now, because none of these demands are reasonable? There is no reasonable ransom, because ransom is illegal, quote unquote. But when they make such demands, because they know this particular kidnapping, like the Dapchi kidnapping, like the Chibok kidnapping, has grabbed the attention of the international community, and the Nigerian government right now is feeling the pressure. Do you think that these bandits are now having a field day with even some of these ridiculous amounts that they're making public?
Honestly, they are. Now look at the days of Buhari, when you had one criminal in the name of Buhari. He called himself Buhari Ndaji. If we think that we have Buhari in the city, Buhari who is ruling Nigeria or governing Nigeria, okay, they also have their own Buhari Ndaji. It's a kind of to ridicule the system. And when you select, therefore, what you call the very weak in society, vulnerable group in society for attack, kidnap them, is to show the government that, look, if you think you have power, come and protect these innocent ones. I mean, these are people you should protect like eggs. But they are now being, these eggs are being rubbish on top of stones. That is what these bandits are telling the authorities. We can challenge you, and they are challenging you. And that's why it's so ridiculous. Look at when you had Abubakar Shekau, when they said, I mean, some bounties were placed on his head, and some people, they also said, okay, whoever can get some of these guys in authority, we're going to give you a ram. So you can see the way they've so reduced those in authority. We expect that time has come that look, the authorities should say no. And when we say authorities, the civil authority and the military powers will have to be deployed, so that we have a better Nigeria.
Staying with the Kuriga, just before we go, I guess, yesterday, Sheikh Gumi offered to negotiate the release of the students. He said the Tinubu administration should not make the same mistake the Buhari administration made by ignoring the idea of negotiating with these bandits. Where do you stand on these kind of non-state actors and their contributions to addressing the prevailing insecurity?
Now, you see, in as much as the negotiation does not involve these local people going to sell their land, sell houses, sell everything to give bandits who will just go and buy guns. Can we begin to talk of humanity? Sheikh Gumi is a military officer. Sheikh Gumi, I'm told, is also a medical doctor. Sheikh Gumi is also a religious cleric, so to speak. Now, can we begin to have a situation where we're talking of humanity? Can we begin to talk of a situation where we're having Ramadan and we begin to talk of the fear of Allah, the fear of God in heaven, in all of this? Why should innocent, very innocent people, in fact, even an old man, not a youth for that matter, why should he be a victim of all of this? So I think that government with Gumi, they can sit and talk. And if Gumi says he's going to negotiate, if government even says, okay, we have no room for negotiation, as they usually say, can Gumi, because of his credentials, also wade into this? Okay, let me go do it all alone and see what has happened. History will judge him very well. But if government is also saying, we are not going to negotiate, we are not a weakling, but if you are not a weakling, what is happening now, that we've seen this kind of embarrassment locally and internationally. And when you have this kind of, look at the days of Chibok. The moment Mrs. Obama said, bring back our girls, UN did something, then the value of those school students increased in the face of Boko Haram, the kidnappers. So by the time this international attention is all over these girls, it enhances the value. To them, they've seen a financial value in these helpless children they are holding. These vulnerable people who indeed ordinarily they ought to be playing with, who are their children, who indeed are relations, who indeed would be the same religion, the same faith, the same humanity above all, with them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benjamin, for finding time to stop by. It's a pathetic situation in Kaduna, and we hope that our military authority will rise above board and do the needful, so that they can return, these people can return to their normal life in peaceful Kaduna as we used to know it. Once again, thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
So much,
all right, viewers at home, I'm afraid this is where we have to anchor for today. It's a very engaging conversation. We can go on and on and on, but time would not permit, as we've got so much lined up for your viewing pleasure today. And this is where, of course, like I said, we'll bring this to a close. We want to thank you for giving us your time and for participating in our conversations this morning. I am Sunday Michael Ogu. Let's do this again tomorrow.
Thank you so much for your time and company as always. We'll be back tomorrow live at 8 a.m. For now, stick around. At the top of the hour, bring you 360 Sports. Good morning.